Hi, I'm Bill Arnold. Thank you for listening to this podcast. There are many more podcasts available at myfaithradio.com. Your support makes this possible. Thank you.
Oh, don't you know, it's the Bill Arnold Show. It's Bill.
And a warm welcome to the Bill Arnold Show. So glad to have my friend Todd Mulliken here in studio. Todd, if you were doing my job, how would you introduce yourself?
The way you usually do.
Well, I don't know. What do I usually do?
Well, usually say I'm a counselor, an author, and a professor.
Well, then
but I would go,
No, just go ahead.
Okay. I'm a husband, a father, and a grandfather.
Yeah, as of last week.
Yeah, so
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that came out. I just wanted to talk about that, Yeah.
Well, I figured you wanted to talk about that. So you're an author, you're a professor, you're a counselor.
Yes, sir.
And you have a website.
I do have a website.
What is that website?
It's toddmulliken.com.
How do you spell Mulliken?
Mulliken versus GAN or KIN or other ways that people spell it.
And what was the inspiration to name that as your website?
Well, I'm not a very creative person.
Yeah.
So it didn't take very long.
So were there any other options? Or just
really,
toddmulliken.com?
There really wasn't. And
yeah.
I kind of wanted people to know, where's the web? Okay.
You wanted people to find you.
Yes. Does that make sense?
Well, it does. You're kind of the draw.
I didn't want to
at toddmulliken.com, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you're current with the payments on it?
I am.
Okay. So if somebody went, they would actually find.
I think they would.
It would open.
It would open.
Okay.
And
wouldn't be a broken link or something.
No, it hasn't been hacked in like 2 years.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good.
So we're grateful.
Well, I'm looking forward to talking about managing anxiety with confidence. That's your topic that you sent me, and I'm frankly quite anxious about it.
Okay. Well, it is the most popular or most common and popular thing we talk about in the mental health world these days.
Is anxiety.
Yeah, and it is the most common mental health issue in the world right now, believe it or not. The World Health Organization talked about 28% lifetime prevalence, meaning that there's a 28% likelihood at some point in a person's life they will have an anxiety issue. So 28% of the world. So it's more common than depression, ADHD, any of the other mental health disorders we have. So I just think as believers, it's good to be cognizant and aware of anxiety. Our Lord said, be not afraid more than anything else. So he knows that it's common to struggle with it. Mm-hmm. I personally believe he doesn't say, be not afraid. He says, hey, be not afraid. So how do we understand it and utilize kind of his love for us in managing that, but also how do we walk alongside others who struggle with that?
Yeah. Is that nature or nurture? What is that?
Yeah, it's both and. Usually it's a complex interaction between the two. Mm-hmm. So if we have 3 kiddos and one of the parents has a worry gene and a vulnerability to it and maybe didn't have it treated, so it's loud still versus makes sense versus dealt with, 1.5 of those kids will kind of wear that and be more vulnerable to greater vulnerabilities to worry. The other 1.5 won't as much. So the genetics matters, but then the environment matters too. So if the parent has kind of understood their own anxiety and is regulating that and sees that in 1.5 of their kiddos, it helps quiet some of the vulnerabilities that are there genetically for that kid. And then life experiences matter too, Bill. So it's kind of a complex interaction between the two throughout somebody's story is what we believe.
Mm-hmm. Todd Mulliken is my guest. You can learn more about him at toddmulliken.com. That's Mulliken.
You're good.
I am good, aren't I?
Yeah.
I mean, I was panicked thinking, is there 1 L or 2 L's? That's always where I freeze.
Yes, there is 2 L's, but thanks for saying 1. So,
well, I figured you would correct me if I was wrong, and then you didn't. So it's your fault.
I like to avoid
conflict. If nobody gets to your website,
it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah,
it's not a great website, but that's another topic for another time.
Mulliken, toddmulliken.com. All right, let's get back to managing anxiety with confidence. As we are all doing our best to manage our anxiety, talk about the confidence piece that's kicking in, because for many, the anxiety doesn't have confidence.
No, it's more of a fear or a worry or
Yes.
anxiety. Maybe just to say what it is, it's the four most common symptoms of anxiety are excessive worry. And I just want to say, too, worry in and of itself, like sometimes we're designed to worry because I'm walking out in the middle of a freeway at 3 p.m. Hopefully I'm worried, right? So it's a sign.
That's good worry.
Or it's a good worry, right? So for those of us that battle anxiety, it's really the excessive worry. It's what we call the rumination. It's hard to get out of that spin of what we call what-if thinking. And so excessive worry is loud. Restlessness is probably the loudest piece, where we just get restless in the worry. It's hard to kind of slow that down. So in order to manage the worry that I'm feeling, I might control a situation, and once I control that situation, then that worry isn't there anymore because I've taken care of something, even if it's in a way that unintentionally is causing distress to my spouse because I'm just hyper worried about it. So I just am going to control the situation, or I'm going to avoid the situation. So sometimes the restlessness leads us to want to do something about it right away, Bill, versus we'll talk about some antidotes in a little bit. So that's the second symptom. The third symptom is irritability, because when we're feeling all those feels of anxiety and panic and what-if thinking, it just creates more stress, and so we're naturally more vulnerable to be irritable, whether that's outward or inward. And then the last one is we feel keyed up and on edge. So those are the four primary symptoms of anxiety at its loudest.
Yeah, if I want to manage my anxiety better, might it be wise for me not to talk about what is creating so much anxiety in me? Can I cut it in half if I talk about it less?
Yeah, I mean, the best pain medicine we know that's not medicinal is distraction.
Well, distraction like I'm not addressing it or dealing with it, or distracting because it's part of what's going on with me, but I'm not focusing on it?
Yeah, I mean, great distinction, Bill, right? So
I don't know if it's a great distinction.
Well, I mean, the point is I just had left knee surgery a while ago, so if all I did the day or two after my left knee replacement surgery is think about my left knee all day, I'm probably going to have a bad day.
Probably, yeah.
So I'm not avoiding the pain, I'm just distracting. I'm well aware of my issue. Makes sense? So I think it's a both and. We don't want to live in denial of the fact that I'm really ruminating a lot, and God, please help me with that. We want to deal with that. But in the spirit of rumination, we also want to say, hey, that's been a half an hour. I get to redirect and think about something else and give my mind and body a break.
Mm-hmm. But if I repeat it over and over, I promise, Todd, I'm going to be irritable.
Correct.
Because that's just what it's going to wire me to do, is be irritable.
Right. So it's okay to redirect. That's the beauty of anxiety, though, Bill, really is that when we redirect it into other areas of our story, because there's a lot of, if you will, energy with anxiety, if that makes sense. There's a lot of activity with it. So whereas with depression, our energy is depleted, and it's we have to do energy producing things to get us out of that episode of depression typically at some point. Whereas with anxiety, it's really much more about how do we slow it down and redirect it over time as a way to help treat the what ifs that get so loud.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I want to do a 5-person survey, Wyatt.
I am always on board
I know
for that.
you are. I mean, help me construct this, because I just had this idea as we were talking. I wonder where people are with their anxiety. Are they a 1 or are they a 10 today?
On a scale of 1 to 10 right now in this moment.
Yes.
1 is low, 10 is high.
1 is low, 10 is high. Where are you in this anxiety? And because we want to help you deal with anxiety with confidence. And that's the topic of our discussion today with Todd Mulliken. So if you would be kind enough to just text your number over to 877-933-2484, and 1 would be very little anxiety, 10 would be high anxiety.
And you can be anonymous. We're not sharing names
no.
or anything like that. So that encourages you. Just know we're not sharing this information or anything like that.
Anonymous and confidential, just so you know. All right, Todd, let's let's get back to this anxiety and confidence, because I really do like this topic, and I hope that we can really speak truth into the people that are showing up on the text line saying, well, my anxiety is an 8. How do I handle that with confidence?
Yeah. So I think, without getting into kind of fix-it mode, but just help us understand, I think one of the things that's really helpful is to be accepting of the fact that God sees the worry in us, and he holds us in it. And whether our anxiety is really like generally mild, but it's there, Bill, or whether we have really crippling anxiety where we regularly get panic attacks, and because everything in mental health is like physical health, right? Mild, moderate, or severe. Like for me, replacing my knee was it was severe enough where it needed to be replaced, versus maybe clean out a little cartilage. It's mild. Make sense?
Yeah.
Same with mental health. Some people have an anxiety condition where they just, they have maybe one of those 4 symptoms that kind of get after them a little bit, but otherwise it's pretty quiet. Other people, it's a 4. All 4 symptoms are there loud all the time. So we want to really have space to understand the differences in mild, moderate, severe in terms of how we treat it. But in general, I want to talk about some defensive strategies and then some offensive strategies.
Yeah, I like it.
So the defensive strategies are, okay, anxiety is there. I'm worried about this issue. I'm a parent, and I'm worried about my kiddo at school and what's happening to him or her and how I'm dealing with that, and my mind is ruminative. I'm just thinking over and over and over again about it. So what usually happens with anxiety, first, Bill, it hits you physically. So we get a physical feeling. Our heart races, we get sweaty palms, we can have a little bit of panic feels. So we feel things physically. We can have muscle tension. So anxiety hits us physically first, and that's good to know. So the first thing we do is we witness, oh, Lord, there's that. Oh, that's what that is. That's the anxiety stuff. So a part of eventually moving from excessive worry to kind of understanding and confidence is, if you will, accepting, I have some vulnerabilities in that, and also God holds me in that, and God is my ultimate healer, my wise counselor, my advocate, and he's understanding this mild, moderate, severe condition I have. So instead of shaming myself that why am I still anxious, or why can't I just get out of this what-if thinking? What's wrong with me? Don't I have enough faith? Wow. I get to go that's what that is. I see that. Oh, and I see the story of my parent who really battled that, and I see that. Now I'm seeing it from a place of understanding, and I'm gaining some of God's contentment that Paul said in the plenteer of the want. It doesn't mean I'm having a party for the fact that I have vulnerabilities to anxiety, but I'm also not shaming myself. I'm not in this excessive worry of I'm never going to get over this, to there I go. I kind of did that. Oh, Lord, I'm actually worried about my kiddo at school, and my mind's kind of going here. Does that make sense? So the first step is knowing we have a physical reaction, but we're also recognizing hey, the Lord sees us in that and holds us in that. The second thing that happens is that we want to redirect our thoughts now, because usually what's happening in that moment when I feel a physical worry is I'm going to the worst case scenario in my head. The thinking is usually watch out, what's the worst thing that could happen? It's likely to happen. So I'm in what if land. And you and I have talked a little bit about that before in previous shows. And so how do I move over time from what if to what is actually true? Now, the truth could be is I'm really worried about my kiddo, and that's a legitimate fear, and God holds me in that fear. But also what is true about what happened when I picked him or her up today at school, and they seemed to have a good day, and that's what I know to be true today. Or, God, what was true today is they had a really hard day, and that's really hard, and God's holding me in that. So I'm making sure my thoughts are aligned with what is true versus what's the worst thing that's happening. Because what anxiety tends to do is takes us to that worst case scenario, and we kind of camp out there. And as you and I have talked, it's kind of a high rent district.
Oh, it's extremely high rent district. And why do we go there, Todd?
Yeah, it's just a part of the ruminative nature of, it's actually some level, it's kind of a self-protection thing that God has designed within us, like we're protecting ourselves from it. But also what happens is when the worry gets excessive, it's easy then to kind of lose grip on what is actually true, right? And that's why what is true could still be bad news. Like if your house is on fire, you call the fire department. It's a bad day, it's not good, but that's what is true, but here is my plan. So the first step is kind of managing the physical stuff as it comes in by slowing down, remembering whose we are, doing some prayer, doing some exercise, doing some redirection, trying to slow the game down, just like the golfers do. And before a putt, they slow down, they look at the putt, they have a rhythm, a routine, just like a basketball player does at the free throw line. They have a rhythm, a routine, a practice, and they breathe, and then they go ahead to the next thing. It doesn't make it perfect, but it's regulating the body physically. Now, the second thing, we're trying to regulate our thoughts from what if to what is. Then the third step is now I'm going to try to make a decision by proceeding mindfully. I'm meeting my kid where they're at from off the bus, like I'm just walking alongside them. I'm not putting my worry on them. I always say be honest with your kids, but don't put something on your kids. So I'm trying to make a decision then that's from a place of wisdom versus worry.
Todd Mulliken is my guest. We're going to continue talking about managing your anxiety with confidence. If you have a question for Todd, you can text it over 877-933-2484. My 5-person survey brought in a couple of 8s, a 5, and a 1 below 5. So seems like the trend is a little bit higher.
Higher.
Yeah.
Very
So
common.
we'll be right back in just a minute. We carry each other's burdens. Please know you can bring us your prayer concerns and we will pray. Share your prayer requests with the Faith Radio team by texting or calling 877-933-2484 or share your prayer requests with the Faith Radio staff and listeners at myfaithradio.com. I have Todd Mulliken sitting across the studio from me. He's a counselor. He's a professor. He's an author. He does kind of a lot of things so well. And today we're talking about how to manage your anxiety with confidence. And that's our topic today. If you have a question for Todd, you can text it over 877-933-2484. All right, Todd, let's pick up.
Yeah, so we've covered the 3 defensive strategies that are happening.
They are, again?
We are trying to manage our physical symptoms of anxiety.
Okay.
We're trying to redirect our thoughts that come, moving from what if to what is.
I like.
And then when we're making a decision, we're trying to make a decision from our wise mind in Christ. So in my field, we have, and I can't remember if I've talked about this on air before, but we have what's called a stop skill, S-T-O-P, for those moments when we're dysregulated, if you will. Because most emotional health issues have these moments of dysregulation where the depression is really noisy and I just am overwhelmed. The anxiety is really loud and I'm what-ifing all the time. My ADHD is taking me to places of inattention and distractibility and I can't rein it in. And I can't land the plane when I'm talking. I'm feeling these moments of dysregulation is what I'm talking about. And then we try to, if you will, it's kind of like be still and know that I'm God, right? So S-T-O-P is what it is, and it stands for stop. So the S is first, I'm just stopping for a second. And this is where that being still is just like, okay, here's what I'm witnessing right now. I'm witnessing and I'm really worried about this particular situation and I'm freezing or I am fighting through it and I'm just stopping for a second because I'm about ready to say something to my spouse that I will regret and I want to catch the words first, so I'm stopping. That's the S. T is I'm taking a few breaths, so I'm not kind of making my decision to overmanage a situation due to my anxiety or run for the hills due to my anxiety.
And Todd, the breaths, that's a
Look at you. Look at you.
I know. I'm trying to come up with the word, though.
Parasympathetic nervous system.
Parasympathetic nervous system. So there's an actual tangible result from just stopping
the cooling
breathing
of the engine.
Yeah, it does cool the engine down.
Yeah, because what we have first is the autonomic nervous system, which is causing that fight or flight reaction. Mm-hmm. I want to freeze. I want to fight. That's the first reaction. Whoop, that's the way we've been designed. And what's your tendency? Is your tendency more to fight? Is your tendency more to flight? And when you are a fighter and you have anxiety, you tend to want to control the situation. If you're a flighter and you have anxiety, you tend to want to avoid the situation in general. So just kind of good to witness that and notice that. Mm-hmm. And so then the parasympathetic nervous system comes in, and it comes in a little quicker when you and I have done that take a few breaths, because we're giving ourselves a chance to regulate and get some oil in that engine. The O is the big one, I think, and now we get to observe with the Holy Spirit, what am I actually feeling and thinking? Like I remember the last time I went to Colombia on a mission trip, I didn't have my passport with me, and it was really, like 2 months before, I still didn't have it. It was expired, so I sent in for it, and they said, fine, we got it, we'll get it to you. Then a couple of weeks went by, it didn't happen. A month went by, it didn't happen. They said, hey, we've got an opening in our Detroit office, and I live in Minneapolis, so I'm not going to be able to go to Detroit the next day and go get my passport. So anyway, I was worried. Came to the day before, I still didn't have my passport. And I remember going to my workout place that I go to a couple times a year, and I went to work out there, and my drive from Edina to Eden Prairie, 17 minutes, I thought the whole time about what if I don't get on that plane? What if the passport doesn't come? What if I don't go to Colombia on this mission trip? What will people think about me? And I was just what-ifing that whole time, Bill. Does that make sense? So now what I needed to do is Philippians 4:6-13 says I get to, bring my requests and my petitions to God. Be anxious about nothing. Good luck with that if you're me. But I'm going to try to be anxious about nothing, but I'm going to bring my petitions and prayers to God, as it says in the next verse. But I didn't do that for those 17 minutes. That makes sense? I was just hyper what-ifing. And so the O part of stop is, let me observe what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. Holy Spirit, come on in. I know you're already there. Come on in. Please join me in what is going on. What is true about this? What is a lie? What are my feels? What's happening here? What is true again? And what came on to me is what is true is you're either going to go on the plane or you'll figure it out the next couple of days when your passport comes. They said it's in St. Paul. You're in Edina. It might not get here. God is still on the throne, and that's what is true. Mm-hmm. So then the P, after we've kind of observed what's happening, the P is I get to proceed mindfully in Christ, ideally with a plan that makes sense, that's, if you will, reasonable. Now, we don't always do the stop very well, Bill, but the purpose of this is just to say one of the strategies we get to do in the spirit of confidence is, first, please be kind to ourselves in that God sees the anxiety, He holds us in it, He understands the vulnerability we have to it, and He tries to comfort us in it amidst the pain. And we get to be kinder to ourselves about it. We get to go, I went there with that, versus like, why did I go there? Like, I witnessed that I drove 17 minutes, and what was I doing? Versus like, why didn't I go to Philippians 4 right away? Like, because that just infuriates the nervous system and makes it harder for us.
No kidding.
So what I mean by confidence is just moving into that pursuit of contentment that Paul talks about a few verses later, where whether I'm in the plenty or in this case the want, I get to just like try to be content in the fact that God is still on the throne, and I'm really battling whether this passport's going to come, whether my kid's going to be bullied at school, whether my job's still going to be there tomorrow, whatever the issue is that we're battling. I'm not saying we're having a party. I'm just saying we're a little bit more in the presence of like what is true. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit of the defensive strategies that we have. But the other thing I want to say real quick is the offensive strategy is much more about like when you and I aren't in that place of anxiety, how are we running towards more gratefulness? How am I running towards the 3 best decisions I was grateful to make today? How am I like working on that side of the street and building that spiritual bank account with the Father about like, here's what is true about how you've made me in your image, and thank you. Because one of the things that happens for those of us with anxiety is we really have I wear a perfectionism T-shirt all the time. I just want to be perfect. Mm-hmm. I wasn't perfect. I didn't do it. I'm not worthy. All those battles that come in with the anxious mind. So the offensive strategies help us gain some new runways in our pathways, some runways there that the Lord can help us use about the pursuit of gratefulness, the pursuit of thankfulness. Again, the scriptures don't say be thankful for all things. It says be thankful in all things. Mm-hmm. So we're not being thankful for things that are horrific and, egregious and that we're grieving over. We're grieving, right? So, but we're thankful in all things, meaning I get to be thankful for what is happening and what's next in the plan I have with this anxiety I'm feeling. So the offensive strategies, Bill, are much more running towards light, energy-producing things, the gratefulness of the day, what is true about the three best things versus ruminating on the one bad thing only. I want to make a plan for the one bad thing with God's help and stop and breathe and look, but I also want to run towards light about what is true and good.
All right, you've given me a lot to chew on here, Todd. Let me go back to the Columbia missions trip. You probably told a lot of people that you were going, and then you don't have an updated passport. Don't you think that if you had to report to people that I ended up not going, would you include the detail that I never had a valid passport, or would you leave that out?
Well, as old as I am, one of the things I've learned early in my life is the beauty of being self-deprecating.
Okay.
Right. That you and I need to be comfortable enough with ourselves. I'm sound like I'm gloating. Sorry. But I think the worst thing I can do is avoid giving people the thought of who am I? Now I'm giving power to what they might think of me versus I forgot my, I was expired for 4 years and been on a mission trip for 14 years. And I'm going to,
Okay, that'd be a little embarrassing, but
it could be embarrassing. And being embarrassed is actually a scared feeling. It's in the scared feelings part. So it's okay to be embarrassed. It's okay to feel scared. It's okay to wonder, if I say this, what are people going to think? That's really normative. Mm-hmm. But it actually kind of gives power to, because I don't know about you, but if somebody told me they forgot their passport and they go, oh, I can't believe I forgot my passport, I'd feel thanks for your humility.
I get that, but this is a critical piece of traveling internationally. And if you've dropped this ball, what else?
What other balls have you dropped? Well, there's plenty of balls, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to my life. But I think that's a part of the relief of anxiety is just being much more kind to self and seeing myself as God sees me. What was I doing? I went 17 minutes without. What's obsessing about that? And so you either go man, I'm a horrible human for not knowing Philippians 4:6-13 and practicing it right there, versus that's why I go to church. I mess up and I still need a savior. I still need to draw from Philippians 4:6-13. I get to do that the next time I do that.
Yeah. So the key is, how do we put the brakes on this feeling we have that I might not have an updated passport, I might not be going on the missions trip, and then still be okay?
Yeah. That's tough, isn't it?
Well,
yeah. Ideally, again, it's that, I'm not trying to sound like the answer man, but the contentment hopefully outweighs the feeling of embarrassment. The contentment is I really messed that up. Okay. Welcome. I missed the mark on that. And that's, again, a part of what we're doing in therapy now is instead of going, well, why am I still anxious? Versus I was anxious. That's interesting. God, let me draw from you as a God of all comfort, or let me, if it's really crippling anxiety, I can't get on a plane without an elephant sitting on my chest. It feels then I may need to see my doc, and God provides healing through medicinal options for people that have severe panic attacks, right? So whatever it is, we utilize our faith as a way to provide comfort amidst this, as you said so beautifully, the feelings of inadequacy and what are other people going to think about me.
Mm-hmm. Interesting comment you made about embarrassment is a fear. I don't know if I've ever connected those dots.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be on the scared feelings, but it is.
Scared feelings.
It's there with scare. It's there with anxiety, inadequacy, insignificance, rejection. Those are all scared feelings. And so when I'm embarrassed, I'm actually feeling inadequate and less than, and that's okay. It's not why am I feeling like that? It's I'm feeling like that, and I'm scared, and that's when we get to know we're held and accepted and approved.
And that could add, Todd, another layer of anxiety to the layer you're already working with.
Correct. And that's what anxiety typically does. It piles on, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so very interesting. If you have a question or comment for Todd Mulliken, who's my in-studio guest right now, you can text it over 877-933-2484. We're talking about managing anxiety with confidence. We'll be right back. Todd Mulliken is my guest, and Todd, let's reset the hour here. I asked you at the top of the hour to introduce yourself. What would you say?
Oh, golly.
Professor?
A professor.
Yeah. Counselor?
Counselor.
Author?
Yeah, I'm an author, but they're not very big books.
I get it. Yeah, but fanatical sports guy.
High school hockey fanatic.
High school hockey, yeah.
Really sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
Okay.
Don't be sorry.
I mean, it's a good release,
Yeah. All right. Here's a question. I struggle with anxiety quite a bit, and I have 2 small children at home. How do you manage or keep physical symptoms at bay? Just the thought of passing down my anxiety to my kids gives me anxiety.
Oh, wow. Well, I want to really say that it's amazing that this person is aware of their anxiety, because when you are aware is, when we're talking about feelings, aware is a powerful feeling. Mm-hmm. And I'm aware that I struggle with that. And so the first thing that's going to happen is just a truckload of empathy and compassion for his kiddos. And he will not judge them for their anxiety. It might be a she, sorry.
Might be a she.
Sorry. Yeah, it might not really it'll help them as a parent walk alongside their kiddo, and they'll have compassion and empathy for the anxiety that their children have, versus when it's untreated and not acknowledged, and oftentimes it's taken out on the kids unintentionally.
Yeah.
So that's huge. And even as this person battles the anxiety and the physical symptoms, they are recognizing the battle. So if their kiddos battle that, they'll be able to walk alongside and understand that. So keeping them at bay is really much more about having rhythms and routines and practices that help us slow down and remember what is true and do that stop skill and do the redirect. And it doesn't mean they go away, but it usually helps quiet them a little bit. And also having a plan of what's happening that day and moving our energy over and our thoughts over to what is true about the day. So it's a lot of redirection as well as slowing down. But as there's self-acceptance of that also takes away the pressure of I can't fix this. It's more hey, I understand I have some of this struggle, like Paul talked about a thorn, so I have a little bit of that struggle, but I'm aware of it and I'm trying to figure out ways to deal with it, right? So there's more self-compassion about the struggle. But I just want to validate, because research says over and over and over and over and over again, those 2 kiddos that have a vulnerability to it will have a quieter vulnerability to it as the parent who has that struggle is aware of it and is treating it for themselves as best as they can in Christ. It's amazing how that will quiet the children, because otherwise it's taken out on the kids and it's really loud and hard.
It's less of a mystery, huh?
It really is. Mm-hmm. And now it's out in the open, and we get to know that that's what's going on, and God holds us in it.
All right, Todd, here's another comment. As someone who has high anxiety and has become very internal and stopped going anywhere or opening up to anyone, how do I move forward without feeling like I'm going to be nauseated or scared? This dear soul, God bless you. And if you will be unstuck soon, trust me. The Holy Spirit will bring this to a new beginning.
Yeah. Again, the thought there, what we believe strongly about is picking a spot that feels a little bit uncomfortable, but also a little bit
safe,
the safest spot to start. And then it's a little bit what we call exposure therapy. We don't have to rush into it and fix it tomorrow, but we witness it's that stop skill pill where I'm witnessing that. I'm just shutting down a lot of areas. I'm just really witnessing that. And then there ends up being kind of comfort in that. And so this person's wise enough to kind of go, golly, really, it's hard, it's overwhelming. And so we just kind of pick a safe spot that might be a place to start and, gently expose ourselves a little bit to that situation in a way that feels safe and provides a little bit of a first step. Mm-hmm. And again, it really depends on the severity of their condition, if that makes sense. Like if it's physiologically overwhelming and they have deep panic feelings, then just as I had some medicine for my knee, they would need some medicine maybe to quiet some of that. If it's not as loud as that, but it feels really difficult, it is sometimes that first step of a move towards a little bit, and sometimes with a trusted friend, or
if you have a trusted friend.
If you do, and if you don't, you don't, right?
If you don't, you don't. But
right. If you
don't
don't
have someone, and they can almost be the advocate in the situation, and you're a little bit in the wings, and you're getting, trying to get your feet wet in that situation, that would be a good way to do it, wouldn't it?
Big time.
But if you don't have the friend, that would be tough
it's so
too.
hard. Yeah, and that's why I believe, I hope it sounds okay, but I just think, for myself at least, like if I have for me, I have some ADHD vulnerabilities and anxiety vulnerabilities, and when I just mention that to somebody, oh, hey, thanks for sharing. I'm not like on the street corner telling everybody, but to a trusted friend or something.
That's where I learned about it from you. You were on a street corner telling people about it.
Well, it was tough. I had a hard time starting my business.
Well, I know. At least you cleaned that part of your life up. That's good.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, I think still with mental health, we're still a little bit like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. But again, we don't have to get a megaphone out, but I talk about physical health. Of course, me and my buddies were all in our 60s. Like we just had a golf event. We talked about our physical health. I said, we got to put a stop on this we get to talk about our health for half an hour. That's it.
Or less.
Or less, right?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? We're really comfortable talking about our physical health. So I just hope as believers, I know for me, am I getting comfortable in appropriate context, Bill, right? Of just, hey, how'd your day go? Yeah, gal, it was a good day. I was really worried about this situation, but other than that, it's been a great day. And, oh, you're worried? Yeah, I struggle with anxiety sometimes. And, hey, thanks for sharing. Okay, now it's out in the open. So I'm just saying, I think in general, it's okay to do that like we do with our physical health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like your title of dealing with anxiety with confidence.
Yeah, because with God's help, we're mastering it versus it mastering us, which doesn't mean it goes away.
Right.
It means, but we see it now. We see what is true. And I love what that person said about the almost kind of phobic condition that happens, because that's really a common thing that happens with anxiety is our world can get very, very small, or we get really, really controlling of it. So I really appreciated that comment. And sometimes it's those small little steps of exposure that take the edge off a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Managing anxiety, Todd, feels like a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I guess that's what life is sometimes, isn't it? It's like that's the reality. We all have it, and we have to figure out ways to manage it. And I'm not acting like I know what I'm talking about, because clearly I have my own anxieties, and I don't manage them well.
Yeah.
All of the time.
Yeah, and that's partially why you and I, we have our dependencies on, the Lord of the universe. It's going, I see that, I get it, I see you in that, and part of me is going, well, let's fix that tomorrow. And then, it's hard. Yeah. And sometimes it's a generational thing that's there where, my dad had bad knees, I got bad knees. It's hard. Mm-hmm. So one of my parents had some struggles with anxiety. I do, but that's where what is true is we get to gain contentment and confidence with it versus be defined by it, which doesn't mean it goes away. It just means the goal is symptom management versus symptom elimination, right? It's managing, the symptoms we have, right? Mm-hmm. Physically or emotionally, with God's help, with God's design. And each type of symptom vulnerability we have, there's certain ways to kind of treat it with God's help. So with anxiety, I think a lot of it is the redirecting into what is true and good and what we're for, as well as creating plans for how to handle that tough situation and thinking about it 2 a.m. Well, the truth is, I talk to my boss or my subordinate tomorrow at 3, and the truth is I can't do anything about it till then. So I think what I want to do is, here's the things I want to make sure I say. God, thanks for revealing that to me. That's what is true. Okay. Then maybe I can go back to sleep because I remember what the plan is.
Yeah, I like that. So if you have a plan.
When we have a plan, then we gain a little more confidence. And, hey, it's God's plan, not mine. But like, hey, God, thanks for joining me with that at 3 a.m. because I woke up and felt like I just had a dream about it. And like, whoo, the anxiety's right there. Right. So, but that's normative. So when I'm confident about the anxiety, I realize, oh, there it is, versus like, oh my gosh, there it is. Right. Oh, there it is. So it's not like it's light, but it's more like a confidence that here's what we get to try to do to manage it with God's help, and be of good cheer. I overcame the world, which doesn't mean the anxiety's gone.
And Todd, when you talked about those thoughts at 2 a.m, I always think of Psalm 94, verse 19, that says, "When anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy."
Boy, how good is that?
I texted that this morning to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
solid.
Well,
that's a great thing, just to give a word like that from the Word.
I know. Just
a little bit of and that's why for me, the Philippians 4, 6-13 is like just a great strategy of understanding anxiety. And this verse from the Psalms you said is just beautiful to know how we're held.
Mm-hmm.
I do like knowing that, we don't worship a God that had a party. We worship a God who, his only son suffered and died on our behalf. So he really gets suffering. And people that have crippling anxiety, it is suffering condition. It is hard.
Yeah, it really is. Todd, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our discussion on managing your anxiety with confidence. If you have a question or comment, you can text it over 877-933-2484. Wyatt will have us back in 90 seconds. It is my deepest desire that you take the very first step of faith by placing your faith and trust in Jesus Christ. If you've got questions about what it means to begin a relationship with Jesus, text the word faith to 41224. Todd Mulliken's my guest. We're talking about managing anxiety with confidence. And the verse that I just got asked about that verse, it is Psalm 94, verse 19. When anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy. All right. Speaking of anxiety, and this is a little window into my world. I think this is something I have suffered with most of my life, and that's anticipatory grief. The thought of losing. Mm. And, that's like, what do you do with that? What's all that about?
Mm. Yeah, so whether it's a grief that we experience at a young age, or whether it's as we have those feelings as we're aging and grief is coming, or whether we've experienced grief is not easy, right? Grief is hard. So when we've gone through a deep grief, again, our body has been through, if you will, kind of like a trauma. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the body is on alert. God has designed our body, so we're on alert for that now. So if I've went through a deep grief that was hard, I'm on alert for it. Mm-hmm. And so if you mix that with some anxiety, anxiety is loudest in the unknown, by the way. If I don't know what's happening,
right.
It's loud.
Yeah.
Once the unknown becomes known, okay, here we are,
Yeah.
And here's what is true. It could be really bad news, but at least I know what is true.
Mm-hmm.
So the anticipation, I just want to validate that's when it's loudest, is the what if, is the anticipation, the apprehension, the closer we get to that. Yeah, so then some of us, Bill, with that grief response, will kind of fight it out and have more irritability and kind of be on edge and kind of that part of anxiety. Some of us will freeze and kind of withdraw and kind of I don't want to experience that again, so how do I get further away from that feel? And shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm trying to give examples of it's usually like a one or the other based on our physiologies. I've seen either people kind of go into that avoidance shutdown and freeze with anticipatory grief, or I see a lot of agitation and worry and irritability because you're going there in your mind.
Mm-hmm. This is probably an example, maybe not a great one, but I read a story in the paper of a person with a much beloved dog, and she said, I already have this anticipatory grief of losing the dog. And her husband said, dog's 4, and the dog is as healthy as can be. And they often live to, 10 to 14. But she couldn't shut that piece off. So one day I will lose this beloved animal that I just care so much about and love so much.
Yes.
And so how do you live in the moment and just stay present and go, I have today. Let me just enjoy this day versus, one day I'm going to lose this beloved little animal.
Yeah, it's kind of deciding, am I going to use those? Am I going to kind of be defined by the defensive stuff? Am I going to be defined by the anxiety, which is the worry, the what if, the grief that's coming 10 years from now or, 2 years from now? Or am I going to, like I mentioned with the offensive strategies, I'm going to run towards light. I'm going to run towards the truth of what I have with this animal today. And each day is a gift, and let's go. It's not like an either or.
Yeah.
It's leaving space for the grief and just acknowledging, God, I went there with that. So it's not like what you talked about earlier, Bill. We don't want to avoid it, but we also don't want to be defined by it, right? So this person hopefully is just like, I'm witnessing that I'm just really sad today because eventually our dog will pass. And so ideally the spouse kind of validates, hey, I get that. But to then not let it go into ruminative kind of spin for too long.
Let me reframe the scenario, Todd. Let's just say a loved one was diagnosed with something and the average life is 3 years with a certain disease. So you start to spend a lot of energy already anticipating something that may be happening in 3 years or not. People all day long that said you got 6 months to live, and that was 11 years ago.
Truth.
So I'm just saying, how do you stay focused and in the moment when you've got that thing hanging over your head?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I think, again, it's a both and. It's acknowledging the grief that I'm feeling. So I don't want to wear your denial sweatshirt. We also want to say, and thank you for acknowledging, thank you, Lord, for helping me realize it could be 3 years, it might not. I don't know what is true, but I am sad about that. And what do I get to do today to pursue, the beauty of that person's story and be present for them and to know, like, each day is a gift, and it could be a week, it could be 35 years, I have no idea. So it's kind of the both end. It's acknowledging the pain and dealing with that a little bit, not going to the ruminative what if and then just staying there. And then, because a lot of, like, in general with aging too, Bill, like the key with aging is learn how to regulate the losses that are there. And there are just some losses that happen.
Yeah.
So if it's a 3-year thing or a 13-year thing, the key is like acknowledging the pain that I'm feeling, letting God hold me in the pain while I'm also being present in the day and knowing what I get to do to walk alongside this person who I love, who is, is potentially has an illness that could take their story.
Mm-hmm. And it could take some physical and mental toll if you're living in that zip code where you've got fatigue or insomnia and you can't concentrate because you do have kind of an obsession.
Yeah.
And it's painful, and it can be...
Well, your stress hormones are going, what's going on?
Oh,
right.
Yeah. I forgot about the cortisol and the stress hormones. Thanks,
they're
working. Bringing that up, Todd.
Well, just working hard, so we get to say to him, hey, bud, love you.
With 2 minutes left.
With 2 minutes
in the
to
show.
go. Yeah, what were you thinking?
So we get to go to the stress hormones. Hey, I'm doing the best I can with the Lord. I got your back. Sorry you're working overtime today, but the point is like we get to redirect. We do. We get to do that. But it's normal to have those worries and that what if stuff. It's just very normative about anxiety. That's why when we pursue it with confidence, we go, oh yeah, there it is, and here are my choices. And boy, I just want to ruminate.
Yeah.
Well, I gave myself 20 minutes. Let me go over here now.
Well, I like the fact that you talked about acknowledging your feelings and maybe just being able to accept those emotions without judging yourself.
Yes.
And just give yourself some grace and realize, we all have stuff.
Yeah.
And we can approach it in confidence because God always shows up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we get to do that.
Yeah. All right. I think that is all the time we have, Todd. So,
Bill, thanks for having me.
Yeah. No, it's nice. And thanks for the beverage you bring.
Yes.
For
it might
Wyatt,
be caffeinated, sorry.
Wyatt and no, I don't mind.
Okay.
Wyatt and I each get a beverage. Did you get a beverage?
I did. We appreciate you, Todd.
Back at you. Thanks for having me.
Todd Mulliken has been my guest, and you can go to his website at toddmulliken, MULLIKEN.com to learn more about Todd and all the things he does. and he does them all so well. Thank you for joining me today. I have loved being with you. See you next week. Thanks for listening. Programming like this is made available through your support. Information available at myfaithradio.com.
What in the world is happening in the world? And what's happening in your world? And how do you apply the mind of Christ to that? I'm Carmen LaBerge, host of a podcast called The Reconnect with Carmen LaBerge.
The people listening to your show get such a wonderfully informed perspective on the headlines of what God's doing in the world.
If you feel a disconnect, well, let's reconnect the eternal with the everyday so you can walk your faith into the world that God so loves in ways that honor Jesus.
I love Carmen. She's teaching me a lot on how to have everyday conversations.
There are questions that nag us. Who am I? Where do I fit? And what in the world am I in the world to do?
Boldness in asking the hard questions
regarding very difficult, complicated issues.
Let's get into the Word of God and let the Word of God get into us, applying the mind of Christ to the matters of the day.
Bringing in the Christian viewpoint without getting riled up.
The Reconnect with Carmen LaBerge. Listen wherever you get your podcasts and at myfaithpodcast.com.